Vishnupada Paramahansa Bharata Sata Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Anitya Leela Vishnu Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Bharata Sata Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Anitya Leela Vishnu Om Vishnupada Ashtatara Sata Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj Ki Shri Srimad Shri Guru Govinda Maharaj Ki Natali Vishnu Om Vishnupada Astatara Sata Shri Srimad Shri Bhaktivedanta Vana Maharaj Ki Natali Vishnu Om Vishnupada Astatara Sata Shri Srimad Shri Bhakti Rakshak Shri Radeva Goswami Maharaj Ki Natali Vishnu Om Vishnupada Astatara Sata Shri Srimad Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Bhava Maho Motsava Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj Ki Nitalila Vishnu Om Vishnupada Astatara Sata Shri Srimad Jagat Guru Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki Bhagavat Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Chapta Goswami Satchidananda Shri Vinod Thakur Ki Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Gauri Vedanta Acharya Srila Gurudev Guru Ki Sika Acharya Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Janaratan Srinivashananda Prabhu Trai Ki Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Shri Rupa Shri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Shabda Goswami Prabhu Ki Shri Sruta Narayana Shri Gaur Parashad Vrinda Ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai Devi Ki Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Shyamkunda Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Chuna Devi Ki Shri Purnamasi Bhagavati Yogamaya Ki Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Gopishwara Mahadev Ki Jagannath Baladeva Subhadra Devi Sudasan Chakradam Tata Gopinath Ki Narasingha Bhagavan Ki Bhakta Prabhara Prahlad Maharaj Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Sarvagata Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Gaura Premanande
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kuroti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhajanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauda Tvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Brindai Tulsi Devyai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm offering my Dandavat Pranams, my Shraddha Pushpanjali, at the lotus feet of my most worshipable, beloved Diksha and Siksha Gurudevs, Nityalila Pravishta, Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Asto Tarasata, Sri Srila, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, and then Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. My Dandavat Pranams to the divine lotus feet of our Param Gurudev Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj on his divine transcendental appearance day Avirbhav Mahamahotsav Titi. And my Dandavat Pranams to all of my Shri Rupa Anuga Guru Varga, and my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. So in the latter part, I think it's the last chapter of Param Gurudev's biography, Acharya Keshari, Sri Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. That's the title, Acharya Keshari. You know what Keshari means?
Line?
Acharya Keshari, Lion Guru. Yeah. So, in the final chapter, chapter 7, Gurudev is, he's presenting the various compositions of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. What he actually wrote himself, songs and ashtakam. So he wrote one ashtakam which is called, who knows? Yeah, Radha Vinod Bihari what? Tattva Ashtakam. The Tattva of Sri Sri Radha Vinod Bihari. And actually, I started looking at this and I thought, what an amazing, because what Gurudev is doing, he's giving almost like an entire lecture, or at least part of a lecture, on each one of the verses, bringing us into this Ashtakam. The first verse, just that alone, Gurudev's got such an extensive commentary, so I thought that would be a great treat for us tonight, to hear this. You remember what I said this afternoon, how when I read this biography, and then what really struck me, what amazed me, is that actually everything that Gurudev is preaching, it's all in this book. And now that I've gone to the Radha Vinod Bihari Tattva Ashtakam, I'm seeing that it's all in this Ashtakam. Practically. So, let's proceed forward. It's lengthy. I doubt we'll be able to finish it tonight, but it doesn't matter. Even if I can just finish the first verse, we can continue again at any other time. Just put this over here. All right, so Srila Gurudev is telling. Let me make this a little bit lower. Can you loosen it?
I made it pretty tight.
Yeah, I just want to make it slightly lower because I'm going to be reading. Okay, there. It's almost a two-man operation now with this new microphone still. Okay. So we all know that the deities of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, what's their name that he gave them? Vinod Bihari. What is that? What is this mystery? Huh? That all of the deities are named Radha Vinod Bihari. And what color is Krishna in all of those deities installed in his temples? Huh? Is Krishna blackish? Most Gaudiya Math temples, they all have Krishna as blackish. But not in Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj's temples, and even in our Gurudev's temples, right? So what's this mystery? What's the tattva behind this? Radha Vinod Bihari. Yes. And also, what is the name of our Param Gurudev? His initiated name. Yes. So, let's proceed. Sri Sri Radha Vinod Bihari Ji are the presiding deities in Sri Keshavji Gaudiya Math. And when they were installed, some Vaishnavas were curious to know why both the deities have the same color. And they respectfully asked Srila Acharya. In our Gaudiya Sampradaya and elsewhere, Srimati Radhika's deity is made of white marble and Sri Krishna's is made of black marble. And how is it that both the deities you have manifested are white? So Srila Acharya Dev answered this question in a beautiful and unprecedented way by composing Shri Shri Radha Vinod Vihari using Shaka Chandra Nyay. You know what that means? Shaka Chandra Nyay.
Seeing the moon through a branch.
Yes, the logic of the branch and the moon. Well, what does that mean, though?
It means to give a reference, to
Yes.
be able to see something far away.
Yes.
To
Yeah.
give a reference.
Because actually, you can't really explain it. But when you put it into that reference, then you get some idea. Okay, first verse. Everyone repeat after me. Radha Chinta Niveshena.
Radha Chinta Niveshana.
Radha Chinta Niveshena.
Radha Chinta Niveshana.
Yasya Kantir Vilopita.
Yasya Kantir Vilopita.
Yasya Kantir Vilopita.
Yasya Kantir Vilopita.
Shri Vande.
Shri Krishna Charanam Vande.
Shri Krishna Charanam Vande.
Shri Krishna Charanam Vande.
Radha Lingita Vigraham.
Radha Lingita Vigraham.
Radha Lingita Vigraham.
Radha Lingita Vigraham.
Radha Chinta Niveshena.
Radha Chinta Niveshana.
Yasya Kantir Vilopita.
Yasya Kantir.
And marked by Sri Radhika. This is the meaning of Radha Lingita. And then also Radha Chinnita. Radha Chinnita means he's been marked. And Radha Lingita, embraced. So we pray at the lotus feet of that form of Sri Krishna, who is embraced and marked by Sri Radhika. When Srimati Radhika, the personification of Mahabhav, when she displayed Man, her jealous anger, Sri Krishna became thoroughly immersed in separation from her. His own dark complexion vanished, and he assumed her bright golden luster. Or, this is an alternative, or we pray at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, who is beautified by Srimati Radhika's golden luster, when she embraces him after her man has broken. So, this explanation that Gurudev is about to give, he's also given it a name, like his purport. It's called Tattva Prakashika Vritti. Tattva Prakashika Vritti. The commentary which illuminates the philosophical principles. In this verse, the word Radha Lingita has two meanings. The first is Radhaya Lingita. That means marked by Sri Radha. The second meaning is Radhaya Alingita, which means embraced by Srimati Radhika. What is the last slok of Sikshastakam? Yes, Ashlishyava Padratam Vinashtimam Adarshanam Marmahatam Karotuva. Yes, Vidavatu Lampato. So it's a different word. Ashlishya. Ashlishya means embrace. So, when Srimati Radhika exhibits Man, and Dira Lalita Nayak, Sri Krishna, becomes completely absorbed in feelings of separation from her, then his natural bluish radiant luster disappears. And he helplessly accepts Srimati Radhika's golden complexion. In other words, his own luster becomes golden. He does not have to perform even the slightest endeavor for this. It happens automatically. It is like the strong Bringi wasp, forcefully arresting the weak Telakata insect and confining it in its cave. You know where this example comes from? It's a very important philosophical example. I'm not remembering exactly. I think it's Srila Jiva Goswami who gives this explanation. And it has to do, well, let's read on and we'll see. So, there's this strong wasp called the Bringi wasp, and he forcefully arrests a weaker insect called a Telakata, and he confines it in its cave. So when the weak insect hears the strange sound made by the Bringi, it becomes afraid. And constantly contemplating the form of the Bringi, it assumes a bodily form exactly like that of the Bringi, of the wasp. We can also give the example of Maharaj Bharat, who was thinking of a fawn at the time of his death, and so acquired the body of a deer in his next life. In the same way, Sri Krishna takes on Srimati Radhika's golden luster as he becomes more and more absorbed in thoughts of her. Radha Chinta Niveshena. That's the first line. Radha Chinta means thinking of Radha. And Niveshena means becoming completely absorbed in thinking of Radha. One such incident is described in a conversation between Varahadev and Dharani in the Varaha Samhita. Who's Dharani? I think it's the earth, I'm not sure. So there's a conversation. Lord Varaha is speaking with Dharani, and Sri Varahadev told Dharani, in Vrindavan, there is a large banyan tree on the bank of the Yamuna, and its branches spread far and wide in all directions. Many different types of birds are always chirping on its branches. Surrounding the base of this tree is a beautiful raised platform on which Sri Sri Radha Krishna enjoyed delightful pastimes. You didn't think Varahadev was very rustic, did you? Huh? He's Krishna. So, surrounding this base of this tree is a beautiful raised platform on which Sri Sri Radha and Krishna enjoy delightful pastimes. Once Sri Krishna was relishing Ras Leela with his Sakhis on the bank of the Yamuna. Crores of gopis were reveling in pastimes with him, and he began to dance with the gopis, one after another, absorbed in ecstatic love, sometimes embracing one and sometimes another. And Sri Krishna enjoyed a variety of loving exchanges, sometimes with Srimati Radhika and sometimes with others. Continuing, Varahadev. Srimati Radhika observed that Krishna was embracing and dancing with other gopis as he was with her, and seeing that he was not honoring her superiority over the other gopis, she became angry with him. She immediately left the Rastali and hid in a nearby kunja. After a short time, Krishna noticed Srimati Radhika's absence and became restless. She for whom I performed this Ras Vilas, who is dearer to me than my very life, has left me, he thought. Where did she go? Dancing and dallying with millions and millions of gopis could not capture Krishna's heart, even for a moment. Afflicted with separation from Srimati Radhika, he left the Ras Mandala at once, and he began to search in one kunja after another, calling out, "O Radha, Where are you? As he searched widely for Srimati Radhika, the crown jewel of all his beloved Sakhis, he arrived at the bank of the Kalindi. By now, he was tired and hopeless from his long search, so under the shade of a tamarind tree in a charming kunja, he began chanting the name of Radha in deep anxiety. Where is that charming place? Under a tamarind tree on the bank of the Yamuna. Yes. Imli Tala. That's the very place. The very place. So, he began chanting the name of Radha in deep anxiety. Sometimes he would call out in a melancholy way, Praneshwari, alas, O Queen of my heart, you have deserted me. Where have you gone? And here's the quote from the Varaha Samhita. Radha Vishleshata Prema Vivvala Radha Mantram Japan Dhyayan Radha Sarvatra Pashyati. Overwhelmed by deep separation from Srimati Radhika, Sri Krishna madly chanted the Radha mantra. As he meditated on her, she gradually began to manifest herself to him, as that is where this pastime took place. And it is the location of that particular tamarind tree. That tamarind tree, as you know, left its body. But that was actually only when, a little bit before the year 2000, maybe in the middle 1990s, I think. I am not remembering the exact year. But it was actually still living until that time. Very, very recent. So when it left its body, then they erected, as you've seen, that, what do you call it? Like a covering around the tree to protect the tree, right? And you can still, as you're circumambulating, they left a space open. You can actually touch your forehead to the actual tree. I remember Padmanabha Maharaj somehow managed to get a very large section of a branch of that tree. And he also, they do something to preserve it. They put certain solutions on it, like embalming it or something. And he has that just a few doors down at his Yamuna Kunja, that property that he bought there. You know that, what I'm talking about? Well, yeah, it's called Vrindakunj. But the name of that temple is Yamuna Kunja temple. Vrindakunj is his society. Yeah. So pretty amazing. That neighborhood, right around the corner, Sri Rup Sanatan Gaudiya Mat. My place of my heart, right there on the bank of the Yamuna. Gurudev's heart. And Gurudev's heart is just below the top floor, on the first floor. And what is that? Seva Kunj. And then right next to Seva Kunj, Gurudev's Transcendental Bhajan Kutir. Such a place. Rup Sanatan. So all along the way, it's all Gurudev's. And these places. And Bhakti Saranga Goswami, whose appearance day or disappearance day is on Thursday, he's the one that obtained Imli Tala for Gaudiya Mat, and now preserved. And such a beautiful temple they made, and also all the relief paintings, the relief sculptures, depicting all the pastimes that took place there. in Imlitala. So it's amazing that it's literally in Imlitala, Gopinath Phalam, you know. So Sri Gaur Sundar used to go to Imlitala because that is where this pastime took place, and it is the location of that particular tamarind tree. Overwhelmed with emotion, he used to chant the holy name, weeping bitterly. So when you come in the front from the Yamuna, you walk up the stairs, there's a small mandap of Gauranga Mahaprabhu with his lotus feet there. Yes. So, in the afternoon, overwhelmed with emotion, he used to chant the holy name, weeping bitterly. So that was in the morning time he would come there and sit. Where was he coming from? Oh, it says here. In the afternoon, then he would go to beg alms in a village near Akrur Ghat. Yes. And we used to go to that, there's a village right near Akrur Ghat even now, where we used to go after, on the parikrama, we would go to Akrur Ghat, and then we would go to, what's it called, Batrol. It's like maybe 100 meters from there, and walk up this tall stairway up onto this hill, and that's the place where who came? That's the place of the Yajnik Brahmanis. Yes, the wives of the Brahmins. So there's that place in Akrur Ghat. In Akrur Ghat, what happened there?
First stuff to take back when he was taking Krishna and Balaram to Mathura.
Right.
And then Krishna and Balaram went back to Vrindavan and he took another.
Yes, and he saw them when he dunked under the water, and he saw them also as Anantashesh and Vishnu, and also Krishna and Balaram. Then he looked up, Krishna and Balaram were still in the chariot. And also, at Akrur Ghat is where later on Krishna showed all the Brijvasis the spiritual world. He gave them the vision of the whole spiritual world. So, and that's the place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took up his residence while he was staying in Vrindavan. He lived at Akrur Ghat, and from Akrur Ghat he would come to Imlitala every day and sit and chant and be absorbed. So in the afternoon he would go to beg alms in a village near Akrur Ghat. It seems that Sri Gaur Sundar came to Braj Dham from Nilachala only to attain and to strengthen his Radha Bhav. Because without Radha Bhav, he would never fulfill his 3 desires. So did you hear that before? That's really, why did Gaur Sundar come to Braj Dham from Jagannath Puri? Well, only to attain and strengthen of the dynasty of Rasika Vaishnavas wrote the verse, Hari Purata Sundara Dyuti Kadamba Sandipita. Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvita Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ji Ki Jai Radha Vinod Bihari Ji Ki Jai. So Rupa Goswami, the crest jewel of the dynasty of Rasika Vaishnavas, he wrote this verse. What verse? There's one line he's telling here. From which verse of Rupa Goswami? Hari Purata Sundarya Dyuti Kadamba Sandipita. This is the 3rd line. Yes. Anarpita Charim Chirat Koronaya Vatirna Kalo. So, Gurudev is citing this line. Hari Purata Sundara Dyuti Kadamba Sandipita. Here he indicates the form of Hari, which is effulgence with the radiance of gold, meaning the form of Shri Krishna which is radiant with Radha's golden splendor when he is deeply absorbed in thoughts of her. Shri Sarup Damodar, who is an intimate associate of Shri Gaur Sundar, and also the Rasa Shastra Guru, he has indicated the same mood in his Kadacha, his notebook. Radha Bhava Dyuti Suvalitam Naumi Ave Svadin Bhartrika Naika. Svadin Bhartrika Naika. That means the heroine who happily controls her lover after her man, her jealous anger is broken. This term should be known by any followers of Rupa Goswami. Svadin Bhartrika. That means she is in the commanding position, and her beloved has been completely subdued and controlled by her. This is the mood of Srimati Radhika that all of her Sakis and Manjaris desire to see, always. Right? Gurudev has emphasized this so many times, that Krishna will always be controlled by Radhika. So, seeing Krishna bewildered in separation from her, Srimati Radhika became aggrieved. Her self-control and her sulkiness immediately disappeared, and she bound Sri Krishna in the ropes of her embrace. Krishna then became content, and all his grief and sorrows dissolved. Sri Rai Ramananda refers to this in his dialogue with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 8, verse 194. Srimati Radhika says, our prem reached its ultimate limit in the mere blink of an eye. We have met each other in such a way that we have become one. I have even forgotten that I am the beloved and you are my lover. Now I am separated from you, and this loving exchange has become like a mere fairy tale. Is this how virtuous men act in their pursuit of love? This poem discloses the ultimate stage of milan, or meeting. It is completely embraced by Radhika. Soon after this, Rai Ramananda said to Sri Gaurasundar, Pahile dekilun tomar sannyasi swarup, ebe toma deki mui shyam gopa rup, tomar samuke deki kanchana panchalika, tar gaur kantye, tahate prakata deki savam shivadana, nana bhave chanchala tahe kamala nayana. E matta toma deki hoy chamatkar, akapate kaha prabhu karana ihar. A doubt arose in Roy Ramananda Prabhu's heart, and he inquired from Sriman Mahaprabhu. He said, earlier I saw you in the dress of a sannyasi, but now I see you as a bluish cowherd boy. And at the same time, I am witnessing another most uncommon phenomena. It is as if a wonderful and beautiful doll in the form of a gopi is standing in front of you, covering your entire body with her golden luster. I am directly perceiving that in that form, you are holding a flute to your lips, and your lotus eyes are dancing about, displaying a mood of deep hankering. Please be merciful to me, and tell me truthfully, what is the reason for your manifesting such a form? Remember that part? Not long after that, Ramananda Roy fainted. So Gurudev is explaining the deep and confidential purport of these 4 verses is that Krishna's radiant bluish luster is covered by Srimati Radhika's golden radiance, because each limb of Sri Krishna's body is embraced by each limb of Srimati Radhika's body. The body of Muralidhari Sri Krishna remains unchanged. Only his luster becomes golden. It is this very form of Sri Krishna who is embraced by Srimati Radhika, which is worshipped in all the temples of our Sri Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti. This profoundly philosophical prayer, which is replete with the most exalted sentiments, it clearly indicates its author's exclusive allegiance to Sri Rupa Goswami's conception. To imbibe this elusive mood of the damsels of Braja in our hearts, we must first understand the principles of bhakti. There are 3 stages in the progression of bhakti: sadhan bhakti, bhav bhakti, and in perfection, prema bhakti. Sadhan bhakti matures into bhav bhakti, and finally it matures into prema. Sadhan bhakti, which is performed during the stage of practice, has 2 divisions, vaidhi and raganuga. When the practice of bhakti bears the fruit of prema, there is still a corresponding subtle difference between prema arising from vaidhi sadhana bhakti and prema arising from raganuga sadhana bhakti. Prema, which has developed from the performance of vaidhi bhakti, is imbued with reverence for Sri Bhagavan's majesty and is known as Vaikuntiya Prema. Prema, which is obtained through the cultivation of Raganuga Bhakti, is completely free from even a scent of reverence and is known as Immaculate Sweet Braja Prema, the most elevated stage, which is exhibited in the mood of the gopis. In order to comprehend Raganuga Bhakti properly, it is essential that one first understands Rag Atmik Bhav. Raga is the unquenchable loving thirst arising from intense absorption in the object of one's affection, Sri Krishna. That's called Rag. And the deep and the intense loving attachment which this Rag produces is called Rag Atmik Prema. The distinctive and the unique priti or love of the eternal inhabitants of Braja, including the cows, deer, parrots, and other animals and birds, this is called Ragatmik Priti. It is of 2 types, Sambandha Rupa and Kama Rupa. The term Kama Rupa refers only to the affection of Krishna's beloved sweethearts. And the longing which follows in the wake of this Kama Rupa Rati is called Kamanuga Bhakti. Kama Rupa Ragatmika Prema is also of 2 kinds, Sambhog Ichamai and Tat Tat Bhav Ichamai. The rati of Naikas such as Srimati Radhika, Chandravali, and Shyamala, who desire to meet Krishna for his pleasure, it is called Sambhog Ichamai. What's it called?
Sambhog Ichamai.
What does Sambhog mean? Meeting. Tasam Bhava Madhurya Kamita. This is a quote from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. In other words, Sakis who have tat tat bhav ichatmika rati, they do not desire to meet Krishna independently. What's it called? Tat tat bhav ichatmika. Say that. Tat tat bhav ichatmika. Tat tat bhav ichatmika. Tat tat bhav ichatmika. Rati is their type of rati. So, in other words, the Sakis who have tat tat bhav ichatmika rati, they do not desire to meet Krishna independently, but they are intent on relishing Srimati Radhika's sweet mood when she meets with him. So in the same way, there are 5 types of Sakis: Saki, Nitya Saki, Pran Saki, Priya Saki, and Priyanarma Saki. We went over that, right? That's why I say, whatever Gurudev came to preach, it's all in this book. So those who have equal sneha or affection for Sri Radha and Krishna are known as samasneha. Whereas those who display more sneha towards one or the other of them, they're called vishamasneha. Brinda, Dhanishta are examples of Sakis with vishamasneha, having more affection for Sri Krishna. The Nitya Sakis, for example, Kasturi Manjari and Mani Manjari, they are also Vishama Sneha, but they have more affection for Srimati Radhika. The chief Sakis in this group are called Pran Sakis, of whom Sri Rupa Manjari is the foremost. Gopis, such as Malati, are Priya Sakis. They have Sama Sneha for Radha and Krishna. But still they show somewhat more favor towards Srimati Radhika. And among these Priya Sakis, the most dear and prominent, such as Lalita and Vishaka, are called Priya Narma, or Param Preshta Sakis. These Nayikas, or heroines, are adorned with all good qualities, yet they feel more satisfied in arranging the meeting of the divine couple, Shri Radha Krishna. And Sakis such as Rupa, Rati, and Lavanga, who are the chief amongst the Nitya Sakis and the Pran Sakis, they are devoted to the uninterrupted and unhesitating service of Srimati Radhika in the secluded Nikunjas. These Sakis do not have any desire to meet with Krishna separately, and they feel completely satisfied when they relish the moods of Srimati Radhika in her meeting with him. That's the Seva Kunj painting. There behind, peeping through. All the inhabitants of Goloka Braja, including the Gopas, the Gopis, the cows, the calves, and other animals and birds, they're all Ragatmika. And sadhaks who follow the moods of these inhabitants of Braj in order to attain their bhav are called Raganuga. That's what we are trying for. Sadhaks who follow the moods of these inhabitants of Braj in order to attain their bhav are called Raganuga. And amongst these Raganuga sadhakas, only those who specifically follow the internal mood of Sri Rupa Manjari, they are Rupanuga. Thus, every Rupanuga sadhak is also a Raganuga sadhak, but Raganuga sadhaks are not necessarily Rupanuga. Rupanuga sadhaks are those who, with the external body, they follow the process of bhajan as given by Srila Rupa Goswami, and simultaneously with their internally conceived spiritual body, Siddha Deha, they follow the moods of Sri Rupa Manjari as she eternally serves Sri Radha Krishna in Braj. Only that sort of Rag Anuga Sadhaka is a Rupanuga Vaishnava. The topmost follower of Srila Rupa Goswami, Rupanuga Vara, is Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, and he prays in his Sri Vilap Kushumanjali, Tavaivasmi, Tavaivasmi, Najivami Tvaya Vina, Iti Vigyaya Devi Tvam, Nayamam Charanantike. I'm coming, 1 second. Hey Devi, Shri Radhike, I am yours, I am yours. I cannot live without you. Knowing this, please give me a place at your lotus feet. And one last, he's quoting from Raghunath Das Goswami, Padabjayos tabavina varadasyameva nanyat kadapi samaye kila devi jache sakyayate mama rasostu namostu nityam dasyayate mama rasostu satyam. O Devi Radhike, I never beg for anything but that most exalted direct service unto your lotus feet. Time and again I offer pranam from afar to the position of your Sakhi, but I vow that my unwavering devotion should always be only to be your maidservant. This is Raghunath Das Goswami from Vilapa Kushamanjali. So I'm finishing here. Srila Gurudev's purport to the first sloka of the Radha Vinod Vihari Tattva Ashtakam. It continues just a little bit, but we'll do that on another day, maybe tomorrow. We'll do that on another day. But now that we've started the Radha Tattva Vinod Vihari Ashtakam, we are going to have to complete it in course of time. We cannot leave it hanging. So, all glories to Shri Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo.